I'm
good.
trying to show a little.
You try to have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I could go right Duke, Houston, Florida, and Auburn, and away we go.
I took Tennessee for my husband's alma mater, so I get it.
You took Tennessee, too.
So emotions played a role.
100%, because I didn't know what I was doing in the men's bracket. I was like, all right.
That's how I felt about the women's bracket. I ain't gonna lie to you. And the men, damn it. Let me not discriminate at both. I mean, how many college games do I get to watch throughout the year? I was guessing the whole way.
That's a fact.
But the one thing that I was sure of, I thought that Florida and Duke, I had Florida and Duke meet for the national title. And in this case, I had South Carolina and USC meeting for the national title with the women's because I thought Juju Watkins would beat Page and UConn in the Elite Eight, and then they would go to the national championship game against South Carolina.
We're going to have to wait for the WNBA for that.
Yeah.
Which is going to be some time because Juju's coming back. All right, let's keep it rolling, guys. Hey, good job by you, Steve. Way to go, bud. It was a big night in the NBA last night. The Nuggets fell to the Timberwolves 140-139 in double OT. Nikola Jokic became the third player in NBA history to record a 60-point triple-double, joining Luka Doncic and James Harden. On the other side, Anthony Edwards had 34 points as the T-Wolves recorded their 12th win in their last 15 games. It was Edwards' 7th straight game with at least 25 points against the Nuggets. Stephen Curry had a game for the ages, recording 52 points, 10 rebounds, 12 three-pointers to beat the Grizzlies. Curry's 12 three-pointers, too shy of his former teammate Klay Thompson's single-game record of 14. All right, when it comes to Curry, Jokic, and Edwards, Stephen A., who do you think's most important to their team to really make a deep run during the playoffs?
Wow.
Tough question.
It's a tough question. It really, really is. And there's still Michael Porter Jr., there's still Jamal Murray, there's a championship pedigree. When I think about Golden State, obviously Steph is everything, we get that part, but Jimmy Buckets could explode in the postseason. When I'm looking at Minnesota, who do you have? And that's not to throw any shade on them. I remember when Julius Randle was in New York averaging better than 22 a game. I understand that. He hasn't been that player this year coming back from his injury, but I got a lot of faith in Julius Randle. But he's struggled historically in the postseason. In a best of 7, you get to key on him in that left hand, and you lean on that left hand a lot, and he's not the most ambidextrous dude in the world. So because of that, there's some limitations in there. Naz Reid can play, and he can hurt you in spurts, but that's really not his game, or ambidextrous dude in the world. So because of that, there's some limitations in there. Naz Reid can play, and he can hurt you in spurts, but that's really not his game. What they do is they lean a lot on Anthony Edwards. Minnesota goes where he takes them. Without him, it ain't happening. And so that's what to answer the question about one of those three, my answer to that would be Minnesota.
Well, listen, they need them all because if Jokic doesn't play great, Murray's very good. He's a great closer. They would struggle. If Curry doesn't have, 25 to 30-point games, I'm not sure if Butler over a longer period of time can carry the load. And as Stevie said, he hit it right in the head with Edwards. Last year they had Towns to help their offense. Randall's not great in the postseason. Naz Reid scores his 14 a game, but still in a lot of his set. So they need all three. I will say Curry because nobody thinks that Minnesota can go to the final. I think some of us in this room, you and I, Golden State could, but I don't know if Golden State can unless he has a big-time postseason. I don't know if Jokic can be a little off. They got Murray. Edwards maybe be a little off. They play good defense. They can maybe Randall. I think Curry's got to play great for them to get to an NBA final. So I'll say him.
My initial answer to this question was I'm with Stephen A. But just to round out the conversation, I think the case when you look at Denver, though, in terms of needing Jokic to be top tier.
Say him.
My initial answer to this question was I'm with Stephen A. But just to round out the conversation, I think the case when you look at Denver, though, in terms of needing Jokic to be top tier, into his third season averaging a triple-double, I don't know that I've seen consistently the performance this season, even though this is a group that has experience and has won together. I don't know if I've seen a
games with the Wizards Denver lost to the Bulls, a big game last week at home.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a little erratic, so they need Jokic to be on his game.
He's got to be steady, yep.
All right, let's get to the women's side. So the women's Final Four is set for this weekend in Tampa. The first Friday matchup will feature Texas taking on defending champ South Carolina at 7 p.m., while my Huskies will follow with a showdown versus UCLA at 9. And it's time for First Take, Her Take. Monica, what do you think would be more impressive, a title for Paige Beckers or a Dawn Staley repeat?
So, Molly, this question is basically looking at an individual accomplishment versus establishing, it is a well-established powerhouse, but continuing to establish another powerhouse in women's basketball. There's a couple numbers that come to mind when I was really thinking about my answer. South Carolina is looking at going 22-1 over a 4-year span if they become national champions this weekend in Tampa, right? When you look at teams that have done that in women's basketball, UConn has already done that 4 different times, and they hold the record for 24-0 over a stretch, right? So if Dawn Staley and her crew is able to get it done, they will be back-to-back champions, and it will continue to push them into the lore of the greats in women's basketball. On the other side of the coin, though, Paige Beckers has been to 4 Final Fours.
Yeah.
She's the only player in UConn that has done that and has not come up with a title. It's no secret. At UConn, you got to hang the hardware, right? You have to cut down the nets to be considered one of the greats. Now, because of that distinction between an individual accolade and a organizational school place in history, I actually think it would be more impressive if South Carolina manages to get this done, because they would be back-to-back champions and they would be continuing to add to their legacy and their place in women's basketball at large.
That's fair, and I know I'm a homer, but Paige, I think it was a knee her sophomore year, and then she had the ACL out. She was out her whole junior year, and you can just tell she's on a mission. And like you said, to be an all-time UConn great, the one thing she's missing is that ring.
And she's not ducking that at all. And in fact, I'm not gonna switch up my bracket now. I'm still holding it down UCLA. But UConn looks poised to make it happen this year, because I think not only does she understand that urgency, but Sarah Strong as a freshman, like, she's dynamic, she's been incredible, and of course Gino Auriemma. Between Gino and Dawn, these are obviously the most experienced crews at this point in the season.
Tampa's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun.
All right, coming up on First Take, legends and eras are always debated among current and former NBA players, but these comments from Draymond Green have Stephen A. feeling some type of way.
I don't think that respect is passed down to us from the other generations, but I think people are quick to say, oh, you got to respect them because they came before. I don't agree with that.
First Take, Her Take is brought to you by Ally.